Welcome to Tigray Television. I'm Mary Nimana. We'll be reading the news for you today. Stay tuned. Tigray Military Command issued a statement earlier today where it said Ethiopian and Eritrean forces have launched joint military campaign against Tigray this morning. The statement said the attack is being carried out in 4 directions towards Adiabo, northwestern Tigray. The military command added that the Ethiopian Airlines have discontinued all kinds of services to Tigray and is transporting weaponries and munitions to Lalibela to support what it called a full-scale war. Abil Zgabo has the details.
In a statement earlier today, Tigray Military Command said Ethiopian and Eritrean forces have launched joint military campaign against Tigray starting from 4:30 in the morning. The military command said the attack is taking place in 4 directions towards Adiabo and northwestern Tigray. The statement added that Ethiopian forces have also continued their massive offensive from Soghota in the direction of Abergele while making repeated attempts to break through in the southern front. The statement said Ethiopian Airlines has stopped all kinds of services to support this multi-directional offensive against Tigray, saying the airlines has conducted 6 flights to Lalibela Airport on August of 30, 6 flights on August of 31, and 25 flights scheduled for today, 1st of September, to transport personnel, weaponry, and munitions. The military command said, having mistaken patience for weakness, Ethiopian government has launched full-scale war deploying large, regular and irregular forces as well as partnering foreign forces. Commander-in-Chief for Tigray Defense Forces General Taddesse Warad on Wednesday said that Ethiopian and Eritrean forces have been taking joint orientation on how to attack Tigray.
On August 30th, a drone attack has been carried out in Ma'ala around midnight, with Ma'ala General Hospital being one of its main targets. The attack has injured several civilians, where we found them admitted to Eider Referral Hospital's emergency room. Sarun Tsagay reports.
Ma'ala was yet again hit by an aerial bombardment targeting civilians in Tigray. This new drone attack was carried out in the middle of the night of August 30. The attack was carried out in several areas, including the Ma'ala General Hospital. We visited Eider Referral Hospital the next day to talk with the survivors of the attack. This is one of the survivors. He was admitted to Eider yesterday, right after the drone attack. We found him unconscious on his bed in the emergency room. We tried talking to him right after he gained consciousness, but he was too weak to talk to us. We met with another survivor, who was resting at another room. He tells us that the drone attack was carried out in residential area while everybody was asleep.
We
were all asleep. It was around 9:45 p.m. We just heard a sound. We didn't know if it was a drone attack or else because we were asleep. When we started hearing sounds, I came out to the courtyard. That is when I was hit.
Sister Tsaga, a nurse at the hospital, tells us that her and her colleagues started hearing blasts at around 9:30 p.m. and that the casualties started arriving at the hospital at around 10:30 p.m. The bombardment was carried out at around 9:30 up to 10 p.m. while everyone was asleep. The casualties started coming up at around 10:30. Tsaga tells us that the frequent bombardment on civilians on top of the siege-induced lack of medication is making their job even harder. We are under siege. There is no medication, so we're struggling to give treatment. Lack of medication is making our job hard as it is. But with the recent airstrike added, we are struggling.
There is almost no service here. I've been sitting here hoping to get proper treatment for my wound, but I haven't got any due to lack of medication. I'm still waiting. When you're injured and you go to the hospital in need of medical assistance, watching the faces of the doctors and nurses is painful. There's literally nothing here. Watching the doctors in pain due to this makes you forget about your pain and feel pity for them instead.
Gabragzabher and Tsaga cautioned that the bombardments are targeting civilians and damaging civilian properties. They noted that the international community needs to stop watching from the sidelines as civilians are being targeted. They called on the world to intervene to stop the brutal bombardment and the year-long siege.
People carried me on their backs and brought me here because we couldn't find a car. You can't find a car in daytime, let alone nighttime, because there is no fuel. On top of this, civilians are being bombarded on daily basis.
The first airstrike was carried out at children's playground. Many children were killed. And now he's bombarding us while everyone is asleep. The Ethiopian government is doing this while besieging us, and the international community is silently watching. They need to hear us and do something.
Where is humanity? What are the United Nations and other organizations doing? Why are they even founded if they can't do anything in situations like this? If they can't protect civilians? Why are they watching silently from the sidelines while we are being chucked, while children are being starved and bombarded? The international community needs to stop giving us deaf ears and needs to intervene now.
The airstrike by the Ethiopian government that bombarded a children's recreation area and the kindergarten on August 26th has claimed the lives of 7 civilians, including children, and left their family members in despair. Our reporters spoke with Nathanael, a 17-year-old boy who's left behind orphaned with no one to take care of. Adagayu Garumkel has the details.
Nathanael is a 17-year-old boy. Before the start of the war on Tigray, Nathanael was a student of grade 8 at Hatchawan's primary school. On August 26, before the airstrike took place, Nathanael said that he was at home reading a book, and his little brother, Isaac Mabel, was playing outside while his mother was out of the house having had coffee together.
I was at home when the airstrike happened. I was reading a book and my mother was making coffee. Then she left home because she had somewhere to be. Immediately after she left, a jet came and started to drop bombs. I jumped out of the house because I was shocked. Then I spent the whole afternoon looking for where my mother may have been, but she was nowhere to be found. I was so terrified of losing her, but never in my wildest dream have I thought that my brother would be there with her.
Nathanael also said that he found out about the deaths of his mother and his younger brother after a day, right after the Aider hospital managed to identify the dismembered bodies of the airstrike victims.
Then, on Saturday, I found my mother's and my brother's bodies at Aider Hospital. He was going to be 6 this September. He was such a young boy. I still can't believe what just happened. How can I possibly describe such a situation? I never thought my brother would die too, because I didn't see them live together.
According to Nathanael, the excruciating experience that he has to go through because of the Ethiopian government is unbelievable at the moment. And he said that he doesn't wish any of this to anyone.
She was the one that takes care of us. I now have no one. This is so unfair. I don't wish what happened to me to happen to anyone else. No one should experience such a painful brutality. I am in a deep sorrow. How can I possibly describe it? It is truly hard to lose the only family you have got.
Akbarat Gidey, closest friend of Nathanael's mother, Froini Takle, also said that she had hoped that the suffering of women and children of Tigray has become to an end, as she was looking forward for the peace negotiation. However, what turned out to be was horrible to even imagine.
We thought that there would be peace soon enough. We never thought mothers and children would die ever again. This is extremely sad. Fraweni was my best friend since Nathanael was a little child. I came here right after I heard about the airstrike. Her son went to look for her, but he couldn't find her on that Friday. She was found on the next day. The people that saw their bodies told me that the child's body was easier to identify because his face wasn't damaged, but hers was difficult to identify. They finally managed to identify her by her clothes.
17-year-old Nathanael is now left alone in the world without a clue of what to do next, as he is also not able to reach his relatives in the other cities of Tigray due to the communication blackout and the lack of fuel.
The discontinuation of all basic services coupled with a blockade on essential items from entering to Tigray has left millions in a dire situation. We spoke with health experts at Tigray Bureau of Health that say that 450 patients have died so far due to lack of oxygen. The experts say lack of medical supplies caused due to the siege and the destruction of medical facilities has meant that they're no longer able to provide essential medical treatments. Aila Gauru has the details.
On Tuesday, Tigray Health Bureau said 450 people died due to lack of oxygen. The bureau said this took place after an oxygen plant that used to make 360 to 400 cylinders of oxygen per day stopped production due to the siege on Tigray. Emergency Case Team Coordinator at Tigray Health Bureau, Dr. Ebenezer Zadengel, and supervisor of the oxygen plant Mulalam Woldengus said that lack of updated software and spare parts have made difficult for the oxygen plant function.
In units, we have lost almost 200, and for adults, the total days due directly, which means not the immediate cause of their condition, but we estimate more than 250 days in adult.
حاجة بزرقات أما ناي technical trigger
This machine has been providing service for a long time, but currently this disk is out of use due to lack of software. Henceforth, we call on the international community to bring us the software so that the lives of thousands of Tigrayans would be saved. Priority should be given to oxygen because you can't breathe without it. This oxygen plant was used to produce 360 to 400 cylinders per day. We produce oxygen here. Our potential is up to 3,000 cylinders. However, we are not producing now due to the ongoing blockade. All these cylinders are now empty. These cylinders had to be distributed to patients. An oxygen cylinder saved the lives of many. So you can conclude that how many patients are dying to lack of oxygen in Tigray.
Dr. Ebenezer also explains how Tigray health system has been devastated due to the war on Tigray and the ongoing siege that has blocked the entry of any medical supplies into the region.
Due to the conflict and the siege, it has totally collapsed now. We have seen that there was an extensive damage and looting to the health facilities in Tigray and to the health infrastructure overall. Not only the health facilities, but the whole system has collapsed because it's not the existence of the health centers or the health facilities alone that we can say the health system, but the system as a whole is collapsed. And this is all due to the, as I said, due to the siege. Oxygen is, by the way, one of the essential drugs that the WHO have an essential drug list. That is a list of drugs that should be available to everyone universally. So it is one of the essential drugs.
Branch manager at the oxygen plant, Sarah Fissaha, also says machines of the company have ceased producing oxygen for over a year now due to the siege. She also says the blockade on medical supplies has made it impossible for the oxygen plant to start production.
You
can't simply get spare parts even from Addis. We used to import them either from China or any other country abroad. However, now we're unable to communicate with our suppliers for maintenance purpose. We're in desperate situation. Sometimes software may fail to work, but you can't go to Addis Ababa or elsewhere outside. For this reason, now our machineries are out of use for a long time.
The manager adds that this oxygen plant was the only plant in Tigray which has been delivering oxygen cylinders to health facilities all over Tigray before the siege was imposed on Tigray.
We used to distribute oxygen cylinders to different health facilities in Tigray before the start of the siege. We were able to supply oxygen products up to Humara, Shire and Alamata, and some parts of Amhara and Afar regions as well. Now we have no stock of oxygen. It's been over 10 months now since we've stopped producing due to lack of spare parts and software related issues. We had requested some organizations through Bureau of Health to support us. And we have also told different organizations, including the World Health Organization, that our problem was software failure and lack of spare parts. But a response is not given yet. I'm afraid the situation would intensify unless all concerned bodies do something immediately.
It is to be recorded that Tigray Health Bureau revealed on 21st of August that health system in Tigray has lost 171 billion worth of properties due to the war, which troubled the health system to revive.
At a referral hospital, the largest hospital in Tigray, says babies are dying on a daily basis as a result of a malfunctioning incubators, in which they say they're unable to repair due to the ongoing siege on Tigray. Our reporters have met with Hirut Hadera, a mother of twin babies that need essential treatment such as incubation for survival. Aila Gabur has the details.
Hirut Hadera is a resident of Oro, a town 42 kilometers from the capital. She is a nursing mother to her 2-week-old twin children. We met Hirut at Aida Referral Hospital, the largest hospital in Tigray, where she says she and her husband came to Magala because her infants got sick and couldn't get enough treatment in Oro Hospital.
I gave birth at Wara Hospital at midnight, but I didn't get an incubation service for my children due to lack of fuel for generators. Then, we were told to buy fuel outside by our own. We bought little amount of fuel. It was finished in a short period of time. After that, we came to Ida Referral Hospital in search of incubators to save our children's lives.
Hirut couldn't get enough treatment yet, she still faces the same problem in Eider Hospital. She says Eider has got nothing but a larger number of infant days.
When I gave birth to my 4 children before, they were well served. However now, my husband embraces our babies so that they can get heat. These babies are struggling to survive. We beg the Almighty to save them.
A pediatrician at Eider Referral Hospital, Dr. Kiros, says hundreds of thousands of children in Tigray have the same story due to the ongoing siege imposed on the region. He also says he has never experienced such a horrific situation during his long year career.
I have never seen such a disaster during my career as a pediatrician, nor have I seen anything like this when I was a student. I don't know what to compare with this. The old people may know a disaster worse than this. I have never seen devastation like this. It's so difficult to describe it. Children are dying in front of our eyes, but we should have treated them as professionals. It's regrettable seeing the death of children due to lack of simple things like this and dread terror as well as life terror.
Brahana Alam, associate professor at Eider Comprehensive Referral Hospital, also says Eider has discontinued the service due to the depletion of fuel and said 10 children have lost their lives in less than a week.
There is a death incident daily. When we see the past 3 or 4 days, 10 children have passed away in our hospital. The reason behind their deaths was lack of fuel for generators. There are children who need incubation, but if there is no electricity, they couldn't get oxygen. Consequently, we are losing them.
The World Health Organization has announced in February of 2022 that there are close to 4 million people in Tigray in need of medical attention as the Ethiopian government maintains a blockade on all essential goods and services coming into the region.
Well, that's it for me today. Thank you for tuning in.